Felix and Tony. Come on, show Adam. Felix and Tony. Come on, show Adam. They're the right reason for a new season. Together we rise.
Well, half a day, people of Guam. Welcome back to On the Trail with Felix and Tony. I believe this is episode number 5. And Senator, we're happy to be here again with this podcast. I'm Felix Camacho, former governor of Guam and candidate for the upcoming 2022 gubernatorial election, a candidate for governor. And of course, joining me every week is my running mate, Senator Tony Adelup.
Off a day.
Off a day. Well, we'd like to, as we go into this thing, there've been it's been quite an interesting week as we've gone through the campaign. We had our Central District meeting up in Manilao, and many thanks, of course, to Doris and Ray Blas, for their hospitality, and for the Central Committee and all those that had come out and supported us. It's always an exciting time to come together, and there's a real familial feeling, and as we gather together, the food that's presented, the donations that are given, the opportunity for the senatorial candidates, those running for the Attorney General have also shown up, and of course our congressional candidate, to mingle among the crowd and meet with them, and as a family gathering together, building momentum, building excitement, and encouraging everyone to reach out, network, and remind everyone that we've got this upcoming election for the primary coming in August. So
And you said it right, Governor. It was a family gathering, and that's what it is. All different families that came together in that one central location for our central meeting, and it was such a fabulous time to be with them and to mingle and talk with them as well.
That's right, and then we're looking forward to this Sunday's gathering up in the Northern District in Dedido by the old flea market. So please join us at. By the time you're hearing this podcast, it's probably over. But anyway, we look forward to and encourage all of you to come out and vote for the primary election.
Yes, sir. So coming up, we have clearing the record.
Yes.
And the first thing I wanted to clear was, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, because I know earlier I turned up the volume on your headset and I said half a day, and then you would say, "Hey, it was too loud." So,
My eardrums are still working.
they're still working.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. So, as you know, this past week we've been the legislature has been in session, and we were going back and forth on the first couple of days on the projection of revenues and things like that, and. What was one of the issue was the educators' pay plan,
Mm-hmm.
and it was brought up that we were inquiring with DOA whether the governor had already submitted the plan to the legislature, and Director Byrne said that. No, it hasn't been submitted, and it was a back and forth issue.
Mm-hmm.
So we told them that by law it had to be submitted, and unfortunately, it didn't go as we expected to, where they would just comply and move forward. Adelup had to come out with a release saying that we don't support educator pay raises, which is the furthest from the truth. That notion was just it was ridiculous. It was about the process of how it was going about, and lo and behold, what happens? The interim superintendent just this past week submitted the educator pay plan as required.
Well, Senator, what I'm concerned about is how the legislative body, this is the primary function of a legislative body, and the Guam legislature is to pass a budget.
Right.
Every single year. You're doing your due diligence, and the revenues that are required, and the reporting. Having been a director at Civil Service Commission, I truly understand. We had the Hay study back in the day. Actually, it goes back to 1992 for the Unified Pay Plan, having to switch an entire pay structure and the methodology upon which we did it. But whatever is recommended for pay, it has to be justified. And then it also has to be, you've got to ensure that you've got the money that would allow for that pay increase and then sustain it, because the system is built to a point where every 18 months or 24 months or so, you have these incremental increases that are pegged in and granted to the employees based on their performance. What I noticed was that coming out of Adelup and the line of questioning from both yourself and Senator Senator Frank Blas, it was politicized, and it was intended, I feel, to as an attack upon the Camacho Ada team,
Right.
and the good senator and anyone else who would question and try and figure out the methodology and simply ask for the study that analyzed teacher pay increases and would justify it.
Exactly.
So it was heavily politicized, and now you were saying that the report was finally released.
So it was finally released, and granted that when you look at the report, it was dated May 11th, 2022. We're already in August. All the governor had to do was just submit it so that we can go over it. So without the submission, actually what this had done was made Senator Blas even dig further deeper into what, how did it transpire, what funds were used to pay from May 23rd, that the day that she authorized it, to September 30th. And you can recall back in the media, the education department came out and said, well, we're gonna request of the federal government, USDO, that we reprogram federal funds to take care of the pay from May 23rd to September 30th. What we found out in that process is that the funds that were taken or reprogrammed were funds that were originally intended to take care of electrical priorities, structural priorities, plumbing priorities. So
air conditioning.
Exactly. So the thing that is very concerning is that, are we going to be able now to go back to the federal government and say, well, we need funds now for electrical, for structural, for plumbing, because we told them earlier now that we don't need it. We need we can reprogram those funds. So who now is going to bear, or at least mention to the kids when the toilets don't work, there's no air conditionings in the room, or the ceiling's falling, that because the funds were reprogrammed earlier, now we can't take care of those issues.
It's concerning, Senator, because if the monies have been reprogrammed out of those specific areas, you now are jeopardizing the health and the safety of our students, teachers, and administrators in that structure, in that facility. And remember, there are 30 plus schools on this island right now. And so taking from that, it really jeopardizes, again, the safety and health of our students. And that's something that they would have to think about again.
And to think, while all this was happening, the CRER report showed that our local government had in excess of $80 million. So in essence, they robbed DOE of those federal funds to take care of those priorities, and held that $80 million for whatever reason, we don't know.
So in essence, this report that was now submitted, or the plan that was now submitted, will more than likely raise more questions than provide answers, I would imagine, as you peruse through it and the legislature then debates this whole issue.
Yeah, definitely. And, once again, the teachers are the innocent party in all this, because all this was made on a campaign promise, and they took from DOE in order to fulfill a campaign promise.
Yes.
That's the unfortunate thing of all this. Teachers they have nothing to do with this. So, it's going to be for the administration to answer And unfortunately, it's going to be the interim superintendent now, former Senator Francis Santos, to kind of find out where now, how can he traverse this potted road and get education back on track, and how he would be able to get these facilities back up to par and get these air conditioners back into, in operation, so that our children can be comfortable in their learning environment,
Yeah, there's a real challenge, I believe, in the future, and this is something that needs to be focused in on. The school system and schools have been built over the last 50 years. In my time, dating back to, again, when I was in office, most especially in my second term, where we were able to build 5 new schools using a municipal lease plan and of course, the compact impact monies to pay for that over time. We need to be creative. There has to be a master plan that is inclusive of what the vision for Department of Education is in the way of facilities, and how we can begin to either rehab, renovate, improve, repair, or build new facilities and new schools for the students down the road. The Department of Education has a tremendous challenge ahead of itself. And although they are a kingdom on their own in a way that they have an elected school board, they have their own superintendent, associate superintendents, and an entire administrative structure, it's going to require a cooperative effort with the executive branch and with all relevant agencies in how to move education forward in the way of facilities. And there are opportunities, as we know. There was we talked about it, the recent opening of iLearn and charter schools. So thank you very much, Senator, for clearing the record. We much appreciate that, and we thank you for your frankness and your honesty in this.
Oh, thank you, Governor. And, we look forward to, finish out this budget process. Hopefully we get it done by next week, Friday. We'll be able to move forward, and, whatever the outcome is, whether the budget passes or fails, we all we'll wait to see what that comes to.
Fantastic. Now, moving on, I'd like to mention a comment from a teacher that I heard the other night, and it was about school safety. And it was a comment made in relation to the uptick in crime and the issue of law and order in our community. And the comment was very interesting. When they had reflected on what's happening and the violence of the schools in the United States of America, and the tragedy of school shootings, whether they be perpetrators that are fellow students or members from outside of the community, with the intent to bring harm and mayhem and injury to our school children, the students themselves had told the teacher that perhaps it's only a matter of time that this type of event would happen on our island, in our school. And I've been thinking, if that happens, how will I react? What shall I do? And what's going to happen to us? So I was a bit taken aback, because it is even our own school students that are concerned about safety, about law and order, and the violence that's happening in our community. And so I'd like to address some of our concerns. And let's talk about this as our topic of the day, law and order.
Law and order.
Senator, would you like to comment anything on this? Let's begin this.
Well, I think it goes way back to what do we have for law and order? There's absolutely no law and order in our community at this time. It's not an uptick in crime. Crime has just exploded through the roof. We have murders. We have child molestation. We have illegal immigrants coming in onto our island. We have robberies. We have, just everything that has been going on these past several years. It's just been on the rise. And we need to put a stop to it. We need to ensure that our community, because, our community out there, they're not safe. It was said that our island is safe. Our island is not safe.
Mhm.
And I went canvassing last Sunday up in the Dedido area, and a lot of the folks there, they were just concerned with everything that was going on. Even when you see a campaign sign, and we said, "Hey, can we put our sign on your fence?" They said, "Yes." They said, "Yeah, but we noticed you have one of the other candidates sign there." It goes, "Yeah, but we don't know how it got there."
Mhm.
They said, "Well, can you remove it?" "No, we're scared." So the fear that is instilled in people, not just on crime, but look at this, even just to the simple thing of putting a campaign sign on a fence. People are scared to remove it because they don't know what's going to happen. So we need to circle back and do what we need to do to instill law and order back into our island.
I'd like to share something. I listened to a certain podcast that, and it was about from an author that wrote a certain book. A very interesting individual named Rabbi Jonathan Cahn. And he is what is called a Messianic Jew. He's a Jew, a practitioner. He's a teacher. He's a rabbi. And he wrote a book called Return of the Gods. And in that discussion, or as he began to explain the contents of his book and the theme of it, he says, when you think about all that's happening in this day and age, and people are saying, how did this happen all of a sudden? He says, you have to go back in time and look at what's happened in our culture. Now, Tony, you and I have grown up in a time where the family structure was there. We were very fortunate. You had mom, you had dad, you had brother, you had sister, you had your cousins, you had your uncles, your aunts, the extended family. We had church, we had school, we had civic activities, whether you're playing, back in the day, midget football, or you're playing Little League baseball, and basketball down at the village court, or volleyball. Whatever you were doing, life was simple and it was safe and it was wholesome. So how did that move from the 60s to here we are, where our people are afraid to even step out of their door in the evening? And he said that the values and principles that have eroded over time, it's been an attack on culture. Mm-hmm. Now, the whole discussion as to who's behind this and who's that, all these other, maybe they may call them conspiracy theories, but he said, listen, a survey was taken about what is it that people in this day and age are looking at, and they broke it down by percentage. What are their so-called idols? What is it that they are pursuing? The largest, the highest percentage was comfort. The second was they're looking for control or security or safety. Third, money. Fourth, approval of others. Followed by success, social influence, power, whether it be political or in your workplace or in your society. Love, whether it be romantic or sexual, and or none of the above, which was a very slow percentage. And so it said that as individuals began to pursue all of these so-called idols as an individual pursuit, they forgot about relationship with others. And then he went on to tie that the fact is that in our community, by law, with the U.S. Supreme Court and decisions made by our lawmakers in this nation of the United States, they said, God, get out of our culture. We don't want you anymore. When they took prayer out of school, when they took the Ten Commandments out of the public square, when they said you must now separate state and religion, and there's no mingling of it, it then began the erosion of the values and principles of a nation that was founded as a Judeo-Christian nation, patterned after the nation of Israel. And so, again, understanding that that's his perspective of how he sees it. But it's a fascinating book. It's on order. It's actually on back order. I can't wait for it to come in and understand a bit more. But the the bottom line is that yes, when we look at where Guam is now, where we are in relation to the United States, where we are in relation to this region, and where we are in relation to this world, we are following in the same path and track of all other mostly Western nations.
Mm-hmm.
And
But that's why, when we look at the foundation of law and order, and what we need to do to rebuild that foundation is that rebuilding families to ensure that there's a sound family structure.
Absolutely.
So that people know that they have their families to fall back onto. Rebuilding employment so that people will know that they have a job, that they can provide their families with the nutrients and the shelter that their family deserves. And then having all that so that we can ensure that when we go out into the public that we're safe, because people that are happy, people that are employed, will ensure that that happiness now goes around. Because when we look at how the society today is that there's so much drugs on the street. There's so much robbery that's going on because people are not employed. People don't have their families. We need to have those two structures built and faith put back into people's hearts.
Yeah.
And then we really need to look at also what is it that our law enforcement agencies are lacking.
Yeah.
Because when you got them coming out publicly in the media saying that I don't know if I can rely on my partner to have my back when we go in on patrol or things like that, that is concerning because now the public, they're scared. Now the law enforcement officers are giving them that reason now to be scared because they don't know if they can be, there for each other. So all this has to go back to the leadership of not just the department, but also the administration. What are they doing today to ensure that they get more patrol officers on the street? Because the last count I checked, they've been losing officers and not increasing it like their campaign commitment 4 years ago. So there's something that is not right, and they need to really go backtrack and see where they failed, because it is a failure to the community when the community has to be the one to say, hey, there's something going on here. And you know what? Thank goodness that they have these neighborhood watch programs out there. Mm-hmm. Thank goodness for that, because neighbors are looking out for each other.
Absolutely.
Because the police can't be everywhere in split seconds, but at least with these neighborhood watch, now they can rely on one another. But we don't want government to rely on the people. Government needs to step up and put their best foot forward so that they can know and tell the people and reassure the people that we are going to have a safe community. And that's when we get in, sir, we need to ensure that we upbeat this uptick in crime. We take it away, that we lower it, that we, do everything that we can give to the law enforcement officers, not just the tools, but the personnel that they need to have a safer island, a safer community, so that our families can be safe.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. And law and order is certainly going to be one of the top priorities of our administration. And I'm telling you that nobody can deny what is going on in this island right now. The administration cannot say that and ignore the fact that crime and the fear in this community is great. And to say that no, everything is okay, or just ignore it is simply unacceptable to the people of Guam. In talking, I had a very interesting conversation. I sat down, a gentleman that is now living a full, productive life, fully employed with a skill that that is highly desirable, got a great job, travels the region, spent 20 years in prison. He made a mistake as a young man. He paid the price, and he's out there now working, raising a family. And along with him, I sat down a police officer who was once at a very high-ranking level of leadership. And I said, I'm going to ask you a question, and would you answer me this? If you could talk to the people of Guam and tell them from your perspective, what is it that's needed to deal with the crime issue, what would you have to say? The former prisoner said, empowerment. We need to empower the people. He said, he said he's been in prison. He's seen all that's happened over time. He knows how it operates. He knows what goes on out there, or in the prison. But he said, if a criminal is not going to be held accountable, if they're going to be arrested, he said, he used the term of fishing like catch and release. Mm-hmm. He says, if you're going to be caught, if it's a catch and release, you're going to go back to doing the same old thing because there's no consequence. But he was asking, why is it that security, private security at different businesses do not have a firearm? The police officer said, you have to understand what's happening with these businesses. If you're going to hire a private security and you want it to be armed, there's a cost. And the security company also, there's a cost where they have to get liability insurance. They have to have their people properly trained, properly certified, properly equipped, and then ensure that they can carry out their job. The customer is going to have to pay for that. And so the cost of security rises. The prisoner then said, well, but if there's no enforcement, there's no prevention. And we began to talk about what's happening to many businesses out there that are vandalized, that are broken into, the suffering that they have, and then the fear in their community. He says, yeah, there's another individual that was complaining that at 3 o'clock in the morning in my village street, I've got some drunkard out there who's ranting and raving, throwing rocks, damaging cars, taking a baseball bat or machete, cracking windshields, and there's no one there to respond. Where's the presence? And then we're afraid to go out there and confront this individual because he's armed. And so these are just examples of what's going on. But they said there's a lack of police presence in the village, in the community, and with drugs, that's the other issue. You wonder why there's such homelessness out there. He says many of these individuals, they got out of prison. All right. Nobody wants to hire them. They've got a criminal record. They can't get a job. The families rejected them. And so what do they have to do? They resort back to crime so that they can get some money. And then they get depressed. They get into alcohol. They get into meth, and eventually they're back in that circle again. And sometimes the best thing for them is to, all right, I don't have a place. I'm going to live on the streets. I'm going to commit a crime, and then eventually I'm going to end up in jail again. But at least I've got I've got a roof over my head. I've got a warm shower. I've got a bed to sleep on, and I've got 3 warm square meals a day. And so how do we break this cycle? Bottom line is, he said, there are many people in our community that are hurting. And it's more than just putting police on the streets and building bigger prisoners. There's something at the core of our community that is broken, and we need all the resources we can, whether it's the private sector, whether it's the faith community, whether it's the government of Guam, whether it's other counselors, but we need to come together and find a solution to this, because the people of Guam are suffering, and crime is there. You can open the paper, he said, every single day. Turn to either the front page or page number 3, and you'll see what's happened in our community. And he says it's a constant. That's something you can count on reading about every single day. Yeah. So we need to get tough on crime. We need to establish law and order, and we need to fix the system.
The system needs to be fixed.
Absolutely.
The catch and release doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
And you were on the show with Tony Lamarena yesterday.
Absolutely.
Him being a former DOC director,
mm-hmm.
He's he knows what goes on at the department, and what needs to be done as well up there. And it's just bringing back that sense of security into the community is first and foremost priority.
Well, thank you, sir. And beyond the crime that we read about, there's still domestic violence, there's sexual violence. There's a need for prosecution, to step up. The court system is overwhelmed. We have our federal agencies that also must play their part, and the broad range of different security agencies within the government of Guam. We all need to work together, and I look forward to it. I'm excited because I've been there. Right, I know the many issues that are there, and we're going to have to continue to work at it. And so we've got to have the resolve. We can't let down on our convictions, and we have to stand firm, because there's going to be times when there's going to be a lot of criticism. But if you know what's right, what's fair, what's just, we're going to do it, Senator.
Oh, we are, Governor.
All right.
That's how it's going to be done, and ensuring that we keep our people safe, and our families safe, and our islands safe, and our tourists safe. We're gonna be able to move on.
So hey, moving on. Let's just move to the. We've had several questions that come over social media. We have a few minutes left on our time cop.
Yeah.
And why don't we address these right now? We can either answer them individually or as a team.
No, we can do it.
All right.
Okay. First question is from Shane for Guam. Do you guys support same-sex marriage and the LGBTQ plus community?
Sir, when I early on also in my term as senator, I've conducted same-sex civil unions, and I had no issue with it. It was a responsibility that one of my tasks as a lawmaker, and when they came to me and asked me, would I perform their union, I said absolutely. I had no issues with it.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah.
And as for me, I can only go back to my bedrock of faith and Scripture, and the good book. In the good book, the Apostle Matthew writes about how Jesus was cornered, and he was questioned by the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who wanted to pin him on something so they can go after him. And they asked him, understanding that they have like several hundred different commandments or laws, which is the greatest? And Jesus responded, he said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And he went on to say, the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And what that means is that is unselfishly to seek the best or highest good for others. And so with regard to this supporting the LGBTQI plus community and all, what does God require of us but to love one another as we love ourselves? And love is the answer. And so we just have to love everyone, no matter what they've decided for their lives and their pursuits.
Yeah. And
love.
We are all one community.
Absolutely.
We're all one people.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Gov. Next.
Okay. So the second question is from Mrs. Ugin. The gist of her comment or her question was she had an 18-year-old son who tried to apply for a government of Guam job, but through the whole hiring process, he wasn't picked. And she pleads that there's something be done with the Camacho Ada campaign or the administration. Her question was, would you look into privatizing government hiring?
As governor, you were at the helm, and also at the Civil Service Commission, you were at the helm there too. So what would your experiences there, sir?
I think the utilization of private hiring firms, especially in the area of specific skill sets that, say, a department agency or an autonomous agency or one of the three branches of government is looking for in going outside of the local talent pool or those that have applied within the government of Guam Department of Administration personnel application, it certainly makes sense to do that. The personnel rules and regulations have been well established throughout the government agencies. And I have to say that she has a valid concern, because the way it is written right now is that, say you've got one position and a multitude of applicants, let's say 30. They will go through, take the test, meet all the qualifications, and then present it before the hiring agency or the specific director is a list of the top 10. Now, who among the top 10 will you hire if you had, say, 5 vacancies for that one particular personnel classification, that one particular job, you have 5 vacancies. Who among the 10 are you going to pick? And let me tell you the process that's usually happened over the years. It will then be forwarded up to the governor's office. And somebody within the governor's office that is assigned to look at who is our supporters among this and who do you recommend, Governor, that we hire, would then be presented. The governor or so-and-so, they're not going to say the governor says this, but they're going to say, here's the approved list. Hire these people. And usually it is because of their political affiliation. The personnel rules and regulations are established to maintain integrity and fairness and justice, and that all those that are qualified should be hired, no matter your political affiliation, whether you supported the incumbent administration or not. And I think if we establish that fairness and equity, then you're going to have people that are feeling that, all right, I've got a fair shot. Right now, it is more, man, I don't know if I'll get the job because they may think that our family didn't support the current administration. That has to stop. And so that's my 2 cents.
Thank you for that, Gov. Well, do we have any other questions? That's it? All right.
Thank you.
Well, we got the coming up on the trail. Get your voices heard. The last day to vote early was yesterday. And we heard that over 4,000 voters came out.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we would like to say thank you for exercising your right to vote. And for those who didn't get a chance to early vote, primary election is coming up on Saturday, August 27, 2022, from 7 a.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. Where are you going to be at, sir? Where are you voting at?
Well, I'm going to start off with Tamuning. In fact, the wife said last night, we're going to start in Tamuning, and we're going to travel together through certain villages, and then at some certain point, we're going to split up and cover the island. So I've already got my directive, and I've been told you can't drive.
Oh, I see.
You're going to have to get a driver, but I do like driving.
You like driving?
I like driving.
But how about you pick me up, and then you can drive me?
But I like your gas. And you have a nice truck.
Well, you know what? I got the RAV4, so I think we'll be nice and comfortable in there.
Well, my Mazda is just about the same size, so okay.
So you pick
it's the 4-cylinder.
We'll see who picks who up. Okay.
Hey, we'll flip a coin.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we got that settled. Ask questions through our social media at Camacho Ada for Guam. Engage with us on the trail by asking us questions through any of our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Your questions can be sent to us in text, audio, or video. Have we ever gotten a video or audio text? Man, that would be so cool just to get an audio or video text, and or more especially a video, so we can pop it up onto the screen and yeah, a video question, right? The person asking the video, that would be
nice.
That would be neat.
Yeah.
Okay. We look forward to engaging with you in the digital space and answering your questions on the show. Join us for our upcoming events this week. The Northern District meeting on Sunday, August 21st at 5 o'clock p.m. at the old flea market location in Dededo. And I know you'll probably be hearing this after, but, we still want to put it out there. After the polls close on Saturday, come and hang out with us at our headquarters in Tamuning as results come in. We hope that you continue to join us for On the Trail with Felix and Tony. It is an exciting time for both of us and our Camacho Ada team. Governor, Any closing remarks?
Wonderful. I know the opportunity to register is still there. Yeah, you can register at the mayor's office or you can register at the Guam Election Commission. And people just come out, make a difference. If you don't like what's going on, make a difference. Vote Camacho Ada.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that. Thank you for joining us on the trail with
Felix and
Tony.
This is Masi.
Thank you.
Felix and Tony, Felix and Tony.